Welcome back to Kind Heart Homestead. My name is Angie. I'm here on our off-grid property in the mountains of Virginia. I'm here today with Cedar and Ben, and just for a day, and we're going to get to work.
Now that the days are getting longer and the temperatures getting warmer, the chickens have started producing eggs more rapidly than they were in the coldest part of the season. I like to make sure to get up to the property around every 7 days or so, and that is mainly to try to keep a routine going, but also to try to make sure that the chickens are tended to. We have an automatic solar-powered and solar-activated chicken door. The door opens when the sun rises and closes when the sun sets to keep the predators out and to keep the chickens safe. But our silo and our water containers are not very big. Perhaps I could purchase something that would work better for longer term, but it's a good idea to make sure everything's secure and to make sure that the batteries are not dead in the solar door. So you can see here, we made it up to our property. Angie's getting the eggs. We have a fairly large container that we recycle after purchasing store-bought eggs. I think this is an 18 pack.
Yep.
So you can see here, there's more than 18. We're probably going to eat a few on this trip before we bring it back down to South Carolina. So we won't have a lot of loose eggs rolling around in the car. I've done that before, and I've had some crack in the car and kind of make a mess. So it's good to have these actual clamshell containers to keep them safe in the car. And then you can see our little barrels inside the chicken coop. That's where we keep their food. That way it's also secured from the predators. They're also in predator-proof containers to begin with, so there probably shouldn't be any issue, but this way a bear can't come and grab the barrel and walk away with it. Anyway, you can see Cedar here enjoying his time on the homestead. I don't think he's encountered chickens up close anytime recently, so he's really having fun with the animals these days. Angie's sprinkling in some worms just to give the chickens some fun things to peck for. It also gives them some nutrients. But now it's time to move on to some other chores.
Time to hook up the solar panel so we can have enough power to work today.
I have a couple spare solar panels that I don't need for my permanent ground mount array, so I'm using one of them to recharge my Anchor 767 portable battery pack. This is a pretty heavy unit, and I try not to move it if I don't have to, so running this cord is a very good solution. Moving on to the next task, it's now time to water our new apple tree. But for now, since we don't have any irrigation, I'm just going to go take a bucket of water from our pond, which is spring-fed. There's plenty of wildlife in this pond, so I know it's pretty healthy, pretty clean water. There's frogs and salamanders that lay eggs in there and thrive, so I'm pretty comfortable using that water for irrigation. If you recall from the last video, you'll know that we planted a small Honeycrisp apple tree all by itself. Eventually we'll have to plant more apple trees to act as pollinators. Maybe we could use some crab apples, but if you have feedback, let us know. So I have this little scrap of 3-inch PVC pipe, this weird gasket thing. I don't know if this is what its intended purpose is, but I'm going to try to cut out the membrane in this knockout of the septic tank. See if I can get this in. You can see here I have a trench going back towards the solar shed, but this is one of the first steps in me being able to connect it. I need to be confident in my ability to seal this against the septic tank before I start gluing fittings. Otherwise, by the time I get it could be too late to make any changes. So I want to start here, work my way back towards the building. And just then, I knew I had made a mistake.
Damn it!
Well, the 3-inch PVC pipe scrap that I had the gasket on ended up being much too small for the knockout on the side of the septic tank. I figured at that point that it was actually designed for a 4-inch pipe with a gasket rather than a 3-inch pipe with a gasket. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get that scrap out of the septic tank later, but for now I'm going to work on trenching this because I have all of the fittings that I would need to adapt 3-inch to 4-inch pipe and get this in place. So I'm just going to continue this project. Since I have this hole excavated, I don't want to let it sit around, get rained on, get filled back up. So I need to take the opportunity to do the best job I can at finishing anything I can in this excavated site on this trip. You can see I have the level there just to make sure that I have sufficient fall, which in this case is no problem because I have to drop over a foot over the course of, I think this is about 10 feet, and that's plenty. But as you can see here, I have a hole dug where the septic tank is, and then a very skinny trench where the pipe is going to go. In order to save on some digging, I think what I'm going to do is have a gradual fall for the main trench, and then once it gets towards the septic tank, has a sudden drop, which you can see here with a 45-degree elbow. The next 45-degree elbow goes right into an adapter that has 3-inch to 4-inch, and that reducer actually plugs the gap in the knockout. I do plan to use some big stretch sealant to seal this area around the adapter once it gets glued up and put into the septic tank. That way no sand or mud can make its way into the septic tank. Well, this was just a day trip for us. We have a couple nights of hanging out in other places up around here. Figure since we're up in the area, we should at least stop by our property, try to get some work done. So you can see behind me, I had to refresh this trench because it's been probably about 6 months since I dug it. and kind of caved in, but it was easy to dig back out because of how powdery the soil was. Anyway, I'm really happy that that's glued. I have a little plug at the very end there because that's going to turn and become a clean out. And I don't feel like trenching anymore today. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though we had very minimal progress. We actually got rained out for a bit. And now my pants are all wet from sitting down in the mud. Pretty uncomfortable. So I'm going to try to get out of here. See you next time on Kind Heart Homestead. Bye.